Hi everyone, my name is Leisha, and I did my project on Ada Lovelace. So, getting into it, Ada Lovelace, she's a gifted mathematician, and she was born on December 10th, 1815, in London to Lord Byron and Lady Anne Isabella. She showed her gift for mathematics at an early age, and she's considered the first computer programmer, and she died on November 27th, 1852. So her father was a famed poet, and she was called Countess of Lovelace, but she was better known as Ada Lovelace. And she showed a gift for mathematics early on, meaning that she was just always naturally drawn to numbers and especially math and science. And I'll get into her life in the next slide. So, with an early age, she was the only legitimate child of famous poet Lord Byron. His marriage to Ada's mother, Lady Anne Isabella, was not a happy one, and they separated after only 8 weeks after Ada was born. And a few months later, Lord Byron he left England, and she never saw her father ever again. And he died in Greece when Ada was 8 years old. And then going into her mother was an extremely oppressive woman. She just kind of insisted that Ada would be everything that Lord Byron wasn't, because he was also kind of known as mad, bad, and everything bad. And Ada's mother she's insisted that she stay away from poetry and the arts, and she would focus on math and science. And those kind of subjects are really challenging for women who weren't really in that field back then. So she kind of didn't have anyone to look up to in that sense, but her mom kind of paved the way for her and just made sure she was always on track for that. And Ada herself showed a talent for numbers and language regardless of liking or not, because she really did like it. Further on to Ada's life, around the age of 17, Ada met Charles Babbage, who was a mathematician and inventor. They became friends, and he became her mentor. Ada really was fascinated by Babbage. He was known as the father of the computer, and he invented the difference engine, which was meant to perform mathematical calculations. So Ada was always kind of looking over stuff with him and working with him, and that really interested her. And then he ended up asking her for advice or help on translating an analytical engine. And she did that, but she also added on her own thoughts and ideas, and they ended up being 3 times longer than the original article. And she published her work in 1843 in an English science journal, and she only used her initials AAL, Augusta Ada Lovelace. And in her notes and work, she described how codes could be created for the device to handle letters and symbols along with numbers. She also had a lot of theories known as process looping today, or like computer programming today. So that's why she's kind of known as the first computer programmer. At the time, however, she didn't attract attention at all, meaning that no one really paid attention to her work or took her seriously. And unfortunately, at age 37, she died from uterine cancer in London, and she was buried next to her father. And in her personal life, she married William King, and he ended up he becoming Earl of Lovelace 3 years later. But they shared a love of horses. They had 3 children, and he kind of always supported his wife. And they had a good marriage, but unfortunately, she died pretty young. So for Ada's legacy, her contributions to the field of computer science were not discovered until the 1950s in a book that was published, but that was kind of the first when her contributions were noticed. And then since then, she's received many posthumous honors for her work. And in 1980, the U.S. Department of Defense named a newly developed computer language called Ada after Ada Lovelace, which is really nice. Who did Ada influence? I think she influenced everyone, especially women, because they were just never in the field of math and science or any kind of STEM-related field. So no matter what was going on in her life, and she actually suffered a lot of health issues, and her mom was very strict and oppressive, and Ada just kind of kept on going, and she had a gift for math, and her love for it was insatiable. What we can learn from Ada is kind of go after what you love, make sure you're good at it, and if you are good at it, don't give up on it. Just like she never gave up on math, and like when you kind of read her books and articles and go over everything that she's done, you see that some of the main themes, which I'll say in the next slide, is that she was always in pain, there was always illness, and there's always math. So those 3 things kept resurfacing throughout all her life. And something I liked that I read in a book that someone wrote was that every time Ada reached out, shared observations, collaborated, taught others, and asked questions, she grew as a person. She grew into someone better. And my reaction was kind of what I just said, that it was painful to learn about her because it's not a great, happy story. And it sucks that she never really knew how important everything that she did would become, because she died at a young age and no one really gave her attention when she was attention in like academic way, because they just didn't take her serious because she's a woman. But if she knew now all that she's accomplished and that it's being noticed and just all of it, I think that'd be nice, but obviously not possible. I think back then she was just perceived in no manner. No one really cared. But now she's obviously revolutionary. There's so many books and articles and research papers written on her, and there's just people call her the first computer programmer, and that's not just a title you give anyone. So obviously she worked for it because she was so smart and she's a strong woman. And why did I choose her? Well, as I said right here, I'm a technology analyst and I work with software engineers all day, and I could 100% say that the field is just so dominated by men, and you don't see women engineers nearly as much. So my workplace does trivia every morning, and I learned that like she is titled as the world's first computer programmer, and it's a little striking, especially when you know that not many women are in this field. So it's just a name that I kind of was aware of, and then when this project came up, she was one of the few that I was thinking about, but then I just ended up going with her. And yeah, these are my references, and this is my project on Ada Lovelace. Great woman. Yeah, thank you.